Hi, my name is Fabian Thorpe.
Hi, my name is Leif Wallace.
And we are on podcast number 2 of our newly entitled podcast series called
Get More Clients.
Get More Clients. So we're super happy that you've joined us today. Our podcast is designed and focused on different ideas and styles for which you can get more clients. And today we're going to be talking about the real essence of business 101, i.e. how do you set up and start your own business, and what are the key things that you need to understand when it comes to delving and considerations for getting into the world of business.
So today there's going to be 10 points that we're going to cover to really help you understand how to set yourself up effectively and efficiently. This is so important. Me and Fabian had a business prior and we learned the hard way.
Absolutely. So we're coming to you with the real talk. We're coming to you to share challenges. And what we're going to try and do is we're not going to be too long. It's not going to be too laborious. We're going to take a couple of minutes on each point. Hit you with the key important terms that you need to know, and that you may, even if you already have a business, there may be some considerations that you haven't taken into place, right?
So let's start with number 1, refine your idea.
Refine your idea. One of the biggest challenges that people have is, what is it that I want to do? Or I have an idea, but what do I need to take into consideration when it comes to refining my idea? So one of the key things you have to ask yourself is, why? Why am I doing this business? What is my reason for getting involved? And is this something that I'm passionate about moving forward?
One of the key things that you can start to do is use something called the business model canvas. The business model canvas. This is something that helps you to refine your value proposition, understand your target customers, understand who are your suppliers, how are you going to make revenue. Using the business model canvas is literally a one-page business plan. We could talk about that a bit later. But it's a one-page tool that you can use to help you as well.
And what's great about that tool is that it helps you to do a few things. It helps you to brainstorm. It helps you to consider the different ways in which you can position your business. And one of the key points is it helps you to actually target who your customers. One of the key things, Leif, we always talk about is knowing your customers, creating that user persona, defining that person, so that when in everything, your approach, sales, content generation, everything is targeted towards your ideal customer.
We'll touch on that in regards to your target customer. There's kind of 2 things you want to pay attention to. Number 1 is demographics and number 2 is psychographics. So what do we mean? Demographics, this is age, maybe gender, maybe position, title, so on and so forth. The second thing is psychographics. This is like behavioral points. What are they interested in? What do they watch? What do they listen to? Where do they go? What places do they spend their time in? That's the kind of 2 things. And then we have a whole process that helps us get deeper into that as well. Let's move on to the next one.
So next point up is that having considered your business name, having considered these things, one of the key points, number 2, is, have you written your business plan? This is something that a lot of people get very frustrated about. They kind of feel to themselves, oh, I don't know what I should do. Am I considering my sales? I don't know how much things are going to cost. What's my marketing plan? What's my executive summary? What's my mission statement? Listen, the key thing for you to understand is this: a business plan, I like to tell people, it's organic. It's something that continually improves, it continually changes, and it continually evolves. So don't be frustrated if you don't nail everything down in your business plan. One of the great tools out there is there's a number of different
business model canvas.
Business model canvas. There's tools like B plans. There's a few different tools that will guide you through the process. But I promise you this: if you take time to go through a very thorough business plan, if you take time to ask all of those key questions, you are going to save yourself time, you're going to save yourself money, and you're going to reduce the likelihood of disappointment.
And what we'll do in the description box below, we'll put a link so that you can go and get the business model canvas yourself as something you can use just to get you going along the path.
2 key points that you have to really consider in your business plan is as follows. First, conduct your market research. There's so many times we speak to people and they're like, I want to set up a pizza shop. Okay, how many pizza shops are there in your area? How successful is that brand? Is this a demographic where there's a lot of students? Do your market research in place. Another thing that people don't talk about is the exit strategy, right? Why are you getting into business? What is your exit plan? One of the things that I tell people is that every time you set up your business should be prepared for sale. Why is that?
There's a fantastic book called Built to Sell. And one of the key tools they talk about is systemizing your business.
Correct.
Having processes in place.
Yes.
Making sure that you have a consistent place where you're getting clients, or a consistent way you're getting clients, and having a process to get clients. That's why we call it Get More Clients.
Get More Clients podcast. Exactly. And the other thing is really key with this is that one of the reasons why I tell people to prepare their businesses for sale is that
even if you're not going to sell it.
Even if you're not going to sell it. Like if you have a house and you're putting your house for sale, what are the key things you're going to do? You're going to make sure that everything's tidy. You're going to make sure that your records are up to date. Garden's done, everything. This is the same thing with your business. What it does is that it allows you to make sure that you are prepped and ready. Yes, bro?
There's a beautiful scripture. Even Jesus says, when a man's going to build a house, doesn't he consider the cost?
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So that considering the cost is all about making a plan before you just go out and launch and step forward.
100%. So the key point there, especially with business planning, 2 points we want to make you really aware of is, first of all, conduct your market research and then consider an exit strategy in place. Point number 3, assess your finances. Wow. We laugh at this one,
You know what's
right?
funny, right? One thing that I've learned this by working with you, right, is that you don't always need money.
Right.
Right? But money is important.
Correct. No, it's very true.
So you don't always need it to get started, but it's still important depending. You might need to buy inventory if it's physical products.
Correct.
But especially if you're a digital service, most of the time you don't really need startup capital too much unless you're doing like running paid ads. Or you might need to rent a venue and pay staff. So
you see, one of the key things, that especially when it comes to assessing your finances, is knowing your needs from your wants. And I know this is what a lot of people kind of talk about and say in place, but you really have to understand, what do I need to get my business started and what would I want to get my business started? There's often a big gap between there, because a lot of times when you see a business area, specifically if it's an area that already exists, you will align yourself with something that is successful. But you have to realize that no business started off at the end of the race. They have to build and grow their platform, and that comes with things like having, a break-even analysis. There's certain tools to define your profitability. You have to be able to watch your expenses, and you also have to consider funding options. And the world we live in right now is that money is everywhere. I keep telling people this is that you don't have to go far to look for money, but are you prepared for the money?
Come on.
That's the key thing, right?
If you take money too soon, they will take more of your business.
Right.
If you take money later on, it's the sweat equity to build your business, but you have more leverage further down the line. So you got to think what makes sense for you based upon your goals in the end.
A business loan might not be the idea. It may be a grant. It may be various different things that may work for you. But at the key stage is that understanding your business, planning your finances, and knowing how to manage your risk is very important.
One little gem that we learned as well is you want to remove variability early on. So what do I mean? One of the key things that we find when working with businesses is that when they haven't defined packages and services at a specific cost, it means that every individual client they're working with, it's always different. I've got a proposal for you, I've got a proposal for you, I've got a proposal for you.
That's right.
But one of the best things you can do early on in business is package, especially if you're a service-based business, package your services around fixed costs so that you can forecast much easily. So if you have a product or service that is at £2,000, for example, I need to sell 4 of them to hit 8 grand or 5 of them to hit 10 grand a month. So you're removing variability. You now know what people you need to target, and you have a fixed cost every time you're working with someone, so your systems can be repeatable because you're always selling the same thing.
Bro, it's like the food business, right? Imagine if you went into a restaurant and you could choose anything you want every time. How is that restaurant going to be in a position where they are able to forecast what the produce they need to buy?
That's why franchises,
they
do that.
And
McDonald's, for example.
Exactly right. So it's very key that we understand that when it comes to your forecasting and your finances, that you plan. And these are tools and these are ideas that we're going to delve into more. Leif and I have discussed putting on specific masterclasses, webinars, and mastermind sessions, which we will share with you guys via our website. Don't forget to check in at flowconverts.com, and you'll get more information as to other seminars and more specifically focused content that we're going to be sharing with you. But before I go any further, next up, point number 4, determine your legal business structure.
This is not my skill set. I throw it to you.
No. So, but for real, it's so important that in planning your legal business structure can determine a number of things. One is if you have a partnership, for example, if you have a business partner, how do shareholdings work? It also determines about tax jurisdictions. It really also also determines about, you know, a SPA agreement, sale and purchase agreement. How is your shareholder agreement built? When do you want to pay dividends? Where do you want to be structured? What are the key things that are governed in your board meetings? When you prepare ahead of time, it reduces the chances for conflict, it reduces the chances for misunderstanding, and it positions you in a way to really understand what your true profit is. And that's the key thing. You really want to understand what your benchmarks are. So things like understanding about everything from your structure to registering correctly for taxes, making sure that you're registered with Her
Fabian's teaching me right now.
Customs and excise, various different points that you have to have in your business structure that will not trip you up.
I think one thing I'll talk about, which is not so much on a legal standpoint, but it's about having the hard conversations early.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like how profit works. You know, income and expenditure.
Yes.
Where's the spreadsheets? Can we see the income and expenditure? Like we've got a
transparency.
Notion. Yeah, like the notion that tracks everything. What we know, what's coming in and out. We know when things are getting paid. That transparency is important early on, especially if you're in a partnership. You with me?
Very true. And here's the thing. Everyone has good intentions, and we understand that. But life happens.
Man.
Life happens. Yeah. Things change that affect outside of the business. And what I like to say about having a good business plan and setting up the legal structure right is that what it does is that it stops you from being in a position where you remove yourself from emotions and you let the business talk for itself.
Come on.
I like to always demonstrate to people and say that your business sits at the table. So your business has a seat. It's a person. And we are working towards nurturing, growing, and developing that person with strength. Yeah. So when we have a discussion, when we talk about business, we physically talk about the business being here and saying, how are we best protecting the business? How do we drive the business? How do we grow the business? And how, if there is a conflict, do we resolve so that it doesn't affect the business? Don't crash the money at the end of the day.
That leads us on to the next point as well. Don't crash the money. Insurance.
Insurance, right?
Wow.
This is you know, insurance.
It's the one we don't really like to talk about it, but
the reality is that it's only relevant when something goes bad, right?
Come on.
Yeah, insurance never comes to weddings, always comes to funerals, I'll tell people, right? So preparation, protecting your business, and insurance for me is a broad scale.
Okay.
I cover things like IP. How do you protect your IP? How do you register your trademarks? How do you look at if you have employees, employee liability? You talk about, contents. Unfortunately, we have a situation recently where, we've had some thefts, unfortunately, in our office. And even in that circumstance, immediately you think to yourself, okay, let's check our contents policy. How are we protected? Insurance is very important, and that is important for yourself personally and for the well-being and welfare of anyone that works with you or for you.
Come on. So this is why, like, I'll go on to the next one because I think you covered insurance.
Absolutely, and I know you know about this majorly, right? What's number 7? Number 7.
The next one is around building your team.
Right.
So let's start from solopreneur to like entrepreneur, which is what you are, right?
Correct.
So from solopreneur, where it's you as an individual. You can't do everything yourself.
Yeah.
So it's being very clear as to like what you're going to delegate and when you're going to delegate those things. And then initially when you're a solopreneur, you might have contracts where you might need to work with contractors. And then as you get more business in, because you systemize your marketing, which we'll talk about next, you'll be able to then know, okay, who's going to be my first hire? That is so important to work out as early as possible.
Yeah.
Your first hire is so important because your first hire sets the trend of who you start to work with afterwards.
Believe one of the key things, and one of my very close colleague who we work with as well, Patrick, says very clearly is understand the culture of your business.
Come on.
What is the culture of the business? What is the environment that you're trying to create in your business? Is your business something that's going to be youthful? Is it? Do you want something that's very serious? Are you in the compliance sector or are you in the creative sector? Setting the culture of your business allows you to do one thing, and I promise you speak to any of the biggest CEOs, billionaires out there, company owners. When you get to a certain level in business, it's no longer about money, it's about people. What they do is they relationship and trade in people and talent. The biggest companies trade talent. It's just the same way in the NBA when it comes to a team of a certain size. Talent is what wins. Okay, the franchise is important, but at the end of the day, if there's no trophies there, nothing's working. Kind of like Arsenal Football Club, but that's a whole different ballgame.
We'll let Arsenal TV.
We'll let Arsenal TV talk about that in place. But seriously, building your team, very key in place. Correct. What's next up?
This is why choosing your vendors is essential. So
number 8, how do you choose your vendors?
And that's why earlier we spoke about like having fixed packages, having fixed pricing, because with fixed pricing, you can basically factor those costs in.
Absolutely.
So let's say you've got, like with web design, we've got £2,000 package, £2,500 package. Let's say we work with a contractor costs us £500 to £700 for the job. Now we factor that into the cost of the job. You with me?
Correct.
So basically, those are the things you might say, oh, now we need marketing. So are we going to work with an SEO specialist? So we factor in designer, SEO specialist into the job, and so on and so forth.
It's about making the, it's about making that client journey as easy as possible.
Yeah, correct.
It's about giving as many options as possible to make it easier to do business with yourself. And that's one thing we're constantly refining. Again, it's an organic process. You keep constantly refining that process and get to the level where you understand your customer so much that everything you want to do is value orientated. I'm a big person based on value. I think that once value is a center of how you look to deliver your service or whatever your business model is, everything else works.
And then people won't care about the costs as long as the value is there and they can afford it, you see.
Right.
And sometimes people find the money if the value is really high.
So what's really interesting is that you're probably thinking, guys, you haven't been spoken about branding and advertising. Well, that's point number 9. Now, why is it that we left it towards the end? Because sometimes my mum used to always say to me, you major in the minors. In other words, you can have the best brand and the best idea, but if your structure and your house isn't built on a solid foundation, it doesn't matter how good it looks, it ain't gonna work.
Yeah, man. You know, I remember the expression, you put the cart before the horse. You know what I'm
exactly, right? And so what we're trying to say to you is that build your infrastructure right, get everything put in place correctly, and then you now focus on what we're saying right now, which is the brand in yourself and advertising.
Yeah, correct. So let's start with branding. So with branding, many people think logo, color scheme, you know, that's part of it, right? But when we talk about branding, this is really a reflection of who you are and what you want to build.
Correct.
So when we talk about branding, what's your voice?
Absolutely.
What do you care about? What's your values? What's your mission? What's your goals? Who do you serve? How do you serve them? Why do you serve them?
How?
You know? You see what I'm saying?
No, for real.
Like
no,
all of that is
I
branding.
love it. That was just hit after hit. That was like Tyson haymakers just then. No, it's so true. So everything, your company website, social media, CRM, logos, all of those things. But understand, that is closed, but ultimately is what is the image that I am, what's underneath, what is it that I'm trying to sell you, what is it that I'm trying to engage, how do I want my brand to hit so harder that my brand speaks before I even arrive somewhere. I'll give you an example.
That's why there's value before the service.
I'll give you an example. I went into the store, and every time I walk past the Chanel store, right, there's something about that store that is intimidating. And it's not even, and it's intimidated to people who even have the money to buy things in there. Why? Because their brand is so refined, down to the way in which the people who are trained, down to the way in which they position their luxury items, down to the way in which it is situated itself. Everything screams luxury to you. So before you go in there, you're almost humbled before you try and pick up that handbag. You know that you're parting with cash. It's just you want to enjoy this experience.
Correct.
That is where you capitalize on your brand. The same way is the same way that if you're going to head into TK Maxx, you know you got to roll up your sleeves and you got to start digging in the crates. You got to start going shirt after shirt to try and get, you know, or even into Primark or Primani as we call it right now, right? It's a different approach. But they understand their brand. They understand what they're selling, and they understand what that experience is moving forward.
I remember when I used to live in Jamaica, there were like these patty shops. There was Juicy Patty and there was Tasty.
Oh, stop now.
And with the two,
it's lunch next.
Every time I used to finish school, right, there was a patty that we used to love to get, which was the cheese patty.
Cheesy beef.
But everybody knew that Tasty had the best.
Oh my!
And the reason why, is because the flaky.
That flakiness.
Are you with me?
That flaky and that pastry.
That was strong in their brand.
Yeah.
So it comes down to your product, how your product is. There may be competitors.
Correct.
But as long as you have that whole branding, you know, emphasized in your product, to your branding, to your color scheme, everything, People will know to come to you even if there are other competitors on the strip. You with me?
So guess what? We've done 1 to 9 in place, and now we're at number 10. Number 10 is very important. After you have covered all of these pre-existing points, what is the key thing that you need to do now? Grow your business.
Yeah, man.
I can't stress the importance of ensuring that your business plan allows for your business to have growth and to be leveraged. There is nothing like building a business and realizing that you are boxed in and you can't expand. How have you catered for growth? How have you planned for growth moving forward?
One of the best things that we like to touch on with our skill set is around the marketing, and specifically content marketing. Just look at what we're doing here today. Creating a podcast is part of our strategy, creating a podcast to provide upfront value to the people that we want to serve and work with. They will receive value, hopefully check out the services and say, you know what, I want to try and work with you guys.
We're not trying to hide anything. This is a part of our business plan. This is part of our content strategy, our marketing plan. You understanding that we are practitioners of the service, that we're not just selling something, that we live it, that we're experiencing it, helps us to build trust with our potential customers, helps you, even if this service isn't for you, if Flow Converts is for someone that you know, it helps us to get referrals, and it helps us also to engage and to get an example of what is it that people want to hear, what do they want to know, and how can we make our podcast even better. What's the name of our podcast, bro?
Get more clients.
Say it again.
Get more clients.
One more time.
Get more
for the people like that.
Get more clients.
Just get more clients right now. That's all we're trying to help you to do.
Because really in the early stages, growth is important.
Absolutely.
But if that revenue's not coming in, then how are you going to grow the business?
How are you going to grow your business? And these principles which we are talking about apply to any business in place.
Correct.
So what do we need people to do right now?
All right, so the number one thing we want you to do is go to www.flowconverts.com. For those on YouTube, just check the link in the description box. You'll see a link, click on that, go to the website, book a call with us if you need some help and some advice to help get your business off the ground, specifically to help get you a website and some marketing to help you to get more clients.
You can find us on all our social links will be in the description: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of the major podcast providers. We're there. We want you to subscribe to our channel. We want you to like, and we want you to share. Subscribe, like, share. Subscribe, like, share. Subscribe, like, share.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for today, man. Look after yourself. Look after your family.
Bye-bye. Take care.